Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Mysteries of Creation. We are reading from chapter 7 at the moment, the Lord's Incarnations. Brahmaji is explaining the creations, Lord's incarnations, to Narad. He explained that at the end of Swayambhuva Manu's reign, there would be a partial inundation of the universe. At that time, the Lord would appear as a divine fish, Matsya, and save King Satyavrat, who will become the next Manu of the name Vaivasvata. The last time there was a great flood, I became frightened on seeing the rising waters. When I gasped in fear, the Vedic hymns dropped out of my mouth into the swirling ocean. At that time too, Matsya appeared and rescued the Vedas while swimming about playfully. As Brahma spoke, Narad saw a vast shoreless ocean manifest before him. The sage saw a huge ship which carried King Satyavrat and many sages, along with a male and female member of each species. The great snake Vasuki was being used to tie the ship to the horn, adorning the forehead of the colossal divine fish, Lord Matsya, who thrashed about in the foaming waters. Next, Brahma predicted the advent of Lord's turtle incarnation, Kurma Avatar. He will assist the demons and the gods to churn the milk ocean by acting as the resting place for their churning rod, Mandar mountain. The vast milky ocean appeared before Narad's amazed eyes. He once more saw the celestial serpent Vasuki, this time wrapped around the colossal Mandar mountain. The gods were pulling on his tail and the demons had grasped his head. As they churned, the mountain gradually sank into the ocean, rendering their efforts useless. Then an enormous turtle appeared in the ocean. It dived beneath the surface and lifted the mountain on its back. The gods and demons again began rotating the mountain within the sea of milk. Kurma floated with his eyes half closed, enjoying the sensation of having his back scratched by the mountain. Brahma then described Nrsingadev, the Lord's half-man, half-lion incarnation, who would kill the mighty demon Hiranyakashipu, the god's enemy. Narad saw the fierce form of Nrsingadev. Roaring as Hiranyakashipu angrily charged him with his great sword held aloft. Seizing him, the Lord pinned his squirming foe across his lap. With his long razor-like claws, he ripped open the demon's belly and tore out his intestines. Even after killing Hiranyakashipu and hanging his bloodied entrails around his own neck, Nrsingadev's anger was still unabated. The gods begged Hiranyakashipu's son, Prahlad, the great devotee, to placate him. As that vision faded, Brahma continued his description of Krishna's incarnations, which were yet to come. Wielding his disc weapon, he will appear as four-armed Hari on the back of his eagle carrier, Garud, to save the elephant Gajendra. In his previous birth, Gajendra was the great devotee Indradyumna. One day King Indradyumna, absorbed in worshipping the Lord, failed to notice sage Agastya approaching and did not therefore show him respect. The sage became angry and cursed him to become an elephant. In his next birth, as the elephant chief Gajendra, he will be attacked by a mighty crocodile while bathing in the river along with many she-elephants. Narad saw a celestial paradise manifesting within the palace. Great trees filled with ripe mangoes, figs and other fruits stood around a vast lake of crystal clear water, filled with blue and white lotuses. At the edge of that lake, a huge elephant was engaged in a titanic struggle with an equally gigantic crocodile. The two great beasts struggled together for a long time. Gradually, the elephant weakened and was dragged out of his depth. When the mighty elephant was almost fully submerged in the foaming and bloodied water, he plucked a lotus and held it up his trunk. As Gajendra trumpeted wildly, Narad understood the sound to be prayers, which he had remembered from his previous birth as King Indradyumna. O original enjoyer, Lord of the universe, O deliverer, famed for purifying your devotees exactly like a holy place of pilgrimage, all are released from sinful reactions simply by hearing your holy name. Pray, free me from this inauspicious low birth. Narad saw Lord Hari hastily descending from his spiritual Vaikuntha planet on the back of Garud. Hurling his disc weapon, the Lord severed the crocodile's head and extended his hand to lift Gajendra from the water. As soon as Gajendra was touched by Hari, he attained an eternal four-armed spiritual form resembling the Lord's. Brahma then related how the Lord will be appearing as Vaman, the dwarf son of sage Kashyap and goddess Aditi. King Bali, Prahlad's grandson, will conquer Indra, king of the heavens, and usurp his kingdom. Kashyap, the god's father, seeing his wife Aditi grieve over her son's predicament, will advise her to worship Vishnu. Pleased by her worship, the Lord will appear as her son and restore Indra's kingdom. Knowing of Bali's charitable disposition, he will recover the universe by asking him for a charity. As Brahma spoke, Narad saw manifesting in Brahma's mystical palace the effulgent dwarf son of Aditi, dressed as Brahman and holding a water pot. Approaching Bali's sacrificial arena on Vaman's request, the king readily agreed to give him 3 steps of land according to his own measurement. Bali's spiritual master Shukracharya recognized the resplendent dwarf to be Vishnu. He warned his disciple not to accede to the boy's request, lest he be cheated of all his possessions. The righteous Bali, however, was determined to keep his promise. Vaman then expanded himself to an immense height. With his first 2 steps, he encompassed the entire universe, penetrating the universal coverings with his big toe. Bali was not at all angry at being tricked. His only anxiety was to keep his promise. With no land left to give Vaman, Bali asked the Lord to place his 3rd step on his head. He thus satisfied the Lord, who in return awarded him a place in Vaikuntha, the eternal spiritual world. That vision vanished, and then to Narad's surprise, Brahma said, "Pleased with your intense love for him, the Lord will appear in his swan incarnation, Hamsavatar, and instruct you in the full science of devotional service, which only devoted souls can understand." Narad felt elated to hear of Krishna's mercy on him. Trembling with bliss and shedding tears, he strenuously controlled himself, eager to hear more about Krishna's appearances. Brahma described the Lord's Manu incarnations known as Manvantar avatars, the fathers of mankind. In each of Brahma's days, 14 Manus appear consecutively as Brahma spoke. Narad saw before him a magnificent Manu clad in armor and equipped with weapons, chastising miscreant rulers of different planets. He also saw another Manu instructing the pious kings in transcendental knowledge. Brahma then spoke of the other prominent incarnations of the Lord. One can be cured of all disease by worshipping Dhanvantari, the avatar, who inaugurates the medical science of Ayurveda. Narad saw how Dhanvantari emerged from the ocean of milk during its journey. He held a pot containing a life-giving elixir which increased the Deva's lifespan. When the ruling classes became corrupt, the Lord will become corrupt, the Lord will appear as Parshuram, continued Brahma. Narad beheld the dark-haired Parshuram dressed in deerskin like a forest sage. He became infuriated by the heinous killings of his saintly father, sage Jamadagni, by the arrogant king Kartavirya Arjun. Taking up his axe, he ran like the wind with his ran like the wind to Kartavirya's kingdom and slew the king with his entire army. Later, when other kings gathered together to wreak revenge on him, he single-handedly killed them all in 21 great battles. We'll continue from here onwards next time. Thanks for joining. That's Hare Krishna.